I think sometimes as well, we always want what we don't have. So when we're at home and it's busy and the kids are there, it's like, I just want 5 minutes peace.
So if I have my children till 2 o'clock, for example, I'm like, right, my full focus is on them.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have your children all the time, you quite easily be there watching TV, not really paying attention to them. So,
And then you know by 4 o'clock it's all right to open a bottle of wine.
Yeah, well, at 4 o'clock, 12 o'clock, right?
It's not just Christmas Day, it's the 25th of December.
Yeah.
Because if I keep putting all this expectation of it's Christmas Day and it brings all the stuff that we've been talking
And it's
about.
a day, you move on.
People hear a lot of alternate weekends or a night midweek or that we're going to split care,
50-50.
shared care equally, 50-50. I mean, that gets quoted at me all of the time these days.
This is probably wrong and you're probably going to tell me off.
Hello, I'm Liza Gatrell, family lawyer at Stowe Family Law. Welcome to the first episode of Life, Love and the Law, our brand new podcast by Stowe Family Law. Today we are talking about Christmas. Full disclosure, when we're recording this, it's the end of November, the Christmas lights are up. There's lots of conversations going on about when Christmas trees will be put up in various people's houses. So we're going to be talking about surviving divorce and separation at Christmas. And I am really pleased to be joined by Jodie Phelps, who is a leading financial advisor, and Tom Nash, better known as the Mr. Divorce Coach. So welcome, guys, to the New Look Stowe podcast. Do you want to start by perhaps we start with Jodie and then we'll come over to Tom, just introducing yourselves and letting the listeners know a little bit about you?
So hi, I'm Jodie Phelps. As Lisa said, I'm a financial planner. I specialise in helping clients through divorce, bereavement, and through those kind of tough life transitions that we have to go through at some point. I help clients with retirement planning, understanding pensions, and really understanding finance during and post the separation process.
Brilliant. And Tom?
Hello everyone, so I'm Tom Nash, otherwise known as Mr. Divorce Coach. My role sits outside of the legal and financial realms. It's more within the emotional, practical mindset, communication, and actually the real life stuff that comes both during and after a divorce or separation, things like co-parenting, effective communication, conflict resolution, etc.
So when we discuss Christmas, what are the main conversations that you find that clients are having when they come to see you both?
I think Christmas is a very emotional topic. I'm divorced myself. And even for me, I'm every year it comes round and it's that kind of gives you that funny feeling in your tummy. And I feel like a lot of people going through separation feel like they're entitled to certain things. But obviously there's two of you, so there does need to be some compromise. So yeah, it's never going to be exactly what you want it to be. But I also think it's important to remember that Christmas is a time that it always feels like the grass is greener. Even if you're in a marriage and a family, it always goes wrong in some way. But unfortunately with
Burn the turkey.
Yeah. Unfortunately with social media, it's so easy to look and feel naturally down because you haven't got something someone else has got.
Yeah. And then missing out on former traditions and expectations and everything like that. So it can bring a huge amount of weight and pressure to people to try and keep up with the Joneses type thing as well, and what everybody else is doing, and not really looking at what's going on inside for them. And it's funny because even though we're doing this just before Christmas, even if I have clients come to me in middle of March, one of the things they're still already asking then, I don't know, maybe about legally as well, they might already be asking about, well, what do we do at Christmas? So they're already thinking about it months and months in advance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from a legal perspective, if we are advising clients, whether it be in January, February, March, July, we're trying to put forward a plan that's going to be able to be in place for a long period of time. You don't want to have to keep going back to square one. So the idea is that the plan is flexible, but that we've got something in place. And so we'll discuss holidays, school holidays and holidays abroad, but Christmas is always a big one that comes out. And there's so much pressure around Christmas, and it's really challenging in a separation, isn't it? Because you've always done it a certain way, potentially. We've all grown up with our family Christmas traditions, and then, you come together as a partnership and you create your own Christmas family traditions, and you very much want to be able to take those on. And there's a lot of emotion around, particularly Christmas Eve and Christmas Day morning, that everybody wants that really special time, particularly if you've got really, really young children, because that's the exciting time. My mum put the Christmas tree up in March one year, as I like to tell my clients. So my dad was in the Navy, and he'd been away at Christmas. So when he came back from his deployment, she put the Christmas lights up outside the house. She put the Christmas tree up, and we had a Christmas in March. Neighbours must have thought she had lost all of her marbles. But as a child with that, didn't think twice that we were having Christmas in March. It was really exciting, having presents, turkey dinner, etc. And I suppose that's what I try and get across to my clients, is that actually that really special time doesn't have to be on the 24th and 25th of December. We can do it any time. I think the children are often far more flexible in this than we are. It tends to be an adult issue.
Yeah. Like Jodie, I'm divorced myself, have been for coming up almost 9 years now. So we've been through this in several iterations, but now where we kind of share Christmas together. So all 4 kids of our blended family and all of their parents. But I remember that first year was really, really difficult about who gets Christmas Day, who gets Christmas Eve, who gets Boxing Day. How do you divide it all? Do you get to speak to them, FaceTime them, and all those other bits that you're missing out on? And it's really, really hard.
And what was the biggest challenge in that, and how did you overcome it?
So what, from the first year to
going
now?
From that incredibly difficult first year to being in a situation where you are a blended family that's able to share Christmas together. You haven't gone from A to B. There must have been some lots of ups and downs within that.
Yeah, and I think, as you well know, and Jodie, I don't know if you know, but in a previous episode that we've done before, my ex-wife's partner is my partner's ex-husband. So it's been a kind of parent swap. So it made it even more interesting that they've got this extended blended family, and those 4 kids go between the 2 homes, and in each home is the alternate set of parents. So that made that first year really, really difficult. And we'd separated in March. So it's like 9 months before Christmas. And it is actually that the bit that caused the most contention that first year was actually that my boys were going back to mum's on Christmas Eve at midday. I wasn't seeing them again until the 27th. And she wouldn't allow me to speak to them on Christmas Day because they were too busy. But we also still had my partners 2, and they were doing Christmas Eve with mum, Christmas morning, and obviously I was there too. But now my boys have gone, and then they were going to their dads, who happened to obviously be with my ex-wife, who already had our 2 boys, for Christmas Day afternoon into Boxing Day. So they kind of used Christmas Day midday as a kind of transition and handover, and then swapped it around the alternate year. But what that causes a disparity between the kids, because you had 2 that were getting to do it equally and 2 that weren't. And then they were also kind of detached from each other as well. That made it really, really, really hard. Really hard. But like I say, getting through several iterations of that, I think year 2 was very much you have them this year, and then we alternated. And now we've got to a point where I think for about 5 years now, we always do Christmas together. We do it in the alternate houses, but all 4 parents, all 4 kids. And actually, in fact, now it's the grandparents that get upset because maybe we're not going to one of the 15.
It always upsets someone at Christmas.
But they've got like 13 grandparents between them all, where the grandparents have obviously had separation, things like that. So yeah, grandparents are like, "Oh, you're coming to us this year?" And we're like, "Well, no, because we all do it all together with all 4 parents and all 4 kids."
Sounds to me like you need a bigger dining table, bigger
Yeah.
oven.
That's why we're moving. So
What about from a financial perspective then, Jodie? What are the challenges that people face coming up to Christmas?
I think we put too much pressure on ourselves about material things. I think, as a joint couple, you've got 2 incomes, you've got 2, sets of savings, perhaps. And as a single person, you feel like you've got to keep up the same kind of level of gifts as you did as a joint couple.
Yeah.
But I think what we've got to remember is actually, if we think about our own childhoods, the highlights to me are like, that Christmas feeling, like, putting your Christmas pajamas on the night before and waking up and seeing snow on the floor, or, it's these little things. They don't cost any money.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you have to remember is actually, I can't tell you what I got for Christmas when I was 11, like, completely beyond me. But I remember the feel on Christmas and having my family around me. So I think putting less pressure on ourselves is key. But also, again, it's, do you go joint in Christmas presents? And if one person earns more than the other, which is typically the situation, almost that kind of competitive feel like, well, he's going to get that, or, people trying to buy, the children, essentially.
Yeah.
So I see that quite a lot. But yeah, it's never easy.
No, it's not easy. And it's when you were talking then, it just reminded me that I wonder if I asked my children, so I've got 3 boys, I wonder if I asked my children what they got for Christmas last year,
If they remember,
they would be able to tell me.
Yeah.
That kind of immediately sprung to mind. And I don't think necessarily they can. I think you're right. They get excited about the gifts and it's lovely to open stuff. But actually, It's the spending time together, the playing the board games, doing all of those types of things that we do at Christmas because everything shuts down.
Yeah.
You have no choice but to kind of be in the house together at Christmas. That's the part of it that they really, really love.
It's
And I think-
presents, not presents.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
I think it's so important to actually speak, especially when they're old enough, speak to the children, get their input.
Mhm.
So my boys are 11 and 8. So I've said to them, right, what do you really want? What's important to you this Christmas?
Mhm.
You know, like, you know, playing a board game on Christmas Eve or what have you. So, and actually alluding to what you said earlier, I'm 8 years post-separation now, and we're in quite a good place, the best place we've been. It's taken a while, but we're there. And I said to the boys this year, I said, do you want Daddy to come round on Christmas morning? And my eldest was like, no, we do it separate. I'll go to his. So it's like,
It'd be a bit weird.
yeah, like, you know, and you're like, and even his birthday this year, I was like, we could all go together. And he was like, oof, no. So it's like,
Yeah,
actually, you know, what's different?
But that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah,
Talk to
everyone's
the kids because
different.
they're going to give you a lead.
Exactly.
And like with
So
our kids,
I thought that would be a great thing for them, like us all being together. And he was probably like, oh, that'll be weird.
Yeah.
whereas if you ask our four and they'll be like, no,
Yeah,
we want all
lovely,
four, we want
yeah.
all four together.
There's not
So
a one
Yeah.
fits all. And I think that's
That's
the
the point.
problem is people hear what other people are doing and think it's what should work for them.
Mm.
But as you know, it's really great, isn't it? Family law. But
Yeah. I mean, child arrangements generally, I think, is always really challenging because people hear a lot of alternate weekends or a night midweek or that we're going to split care, shared care
50-50.
equally, 50-50. I mean, that gets quoted at me all of the time these days. But none of that is actually in the law. The law doesn't state any sort of black and white child arrangements. It's all about what's in the children's best interests. And that really changes between families. You know, we've just heard here, there's two completely different ways of dealing with Christmas. And that will be the same for all of my clients. Everybody, you know, some people really prioritise Christmas Eve, some people prioritise Christmas Day, some people prioritise Boxing Day. And child arrangements generally, I think one of the worst things that I come across is just trying to appease the parents and not losing sight of the children a little bit so that they're to and fro. So we're sharing, we've split Christmas equally down the middle, but it means that the children are being kind of pushed backwards and forwards between the houses. And it's very much trying to get some conversations that are really child focused. You must come across this, Tom, through your work as a divorce coach.
Yeah.
How do you help people to really make everything child-centred and be able to open themselves up to having these conversations?
Yeah, number of different phrases use people like put the children in the centre, not the middle.
Yeah.
They're not a rope and a tug of war. It's about there being a focal point for the two of you. And it's trying to help shift people's mindset that actually what's in their best interest and to challenge that in terms of, well, actually you were trying to achieve whatever that kind of rotation is around the Christmas for them or for you. And actually how's that maybe going to impact them and trying to shift that focus. And it's like when you mentioned like co-parenting, right? And even that in itself brings a huge weight of expectation and pressure because they'll go on Instagram or they get fed whatever through their social medias of what co-parenting is. And it's got to look like you all get along and you're great friends. And actually that might not yet be attainable, right? So maybe step back from it and take the pressure off and maybe it's parallel parenting. Or the other thing that I'll say with people often is about like, forget co-parenting for a minute and stick that over there. You say you've got two boys.
Yeah.
So your two boys then have two kids each. You've now got 4 grandchildren. How do you want to co-grandparent? Right? Yes, you've got this immediacy if it's all fresh and new and it's November and you've just separated and you're trying to figure out this Christmas, but this is the first one. And the first one's always going to be hard. The second one will still be hard, right? But then when you start to get through a couple of iterations of that, how's Christmas going to be in 4 or 5 years' time? And like you guys were saying before, like which bits are the kids going to remember? Are they going to remember that you were there at 1 p.m. to pick them up or that mum was dropping them off or any of those logistical nitty-bitty gritty bits? Is that going to be important to them? So it's like to see the wider picture here as well and kind of disassociate and step out of yourself and think about the other people involved. And then what future focused memories are they going to take from that scenario and that situation?
It's hard though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's hard. And
People
what
get
about
stuck in their stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it can be because the parents feel like they're losing something as well, particularly if they're not going to have, you know, it's your first year not having Christmas Eve or Christmas morning because you've alternated or, you know, that's the arrangement that you've come from. What can they do? Because surely that's going to be a challenge for them. Their Christmas is going to look very, very different. But how can we make this a positive?
Yeah, I was going to say that this year I had my first birthday waking up on my own.
Okay.
And I'm single still. So I'm like, actually, I was waking up in a house on my own. I know it's not Christmas, but I probably can kind of relate. And I was dreading it. Literally weeks before, I was like, oh, how am I going to wake up without my boys there? But for me, I'd say actually making nice plans. Like I stayed at my sister's, we had dinner together, woke up, had my nephew there, we went for a coffee on the beach. So it's like keeping yourself busy and making nice plans for yourself, because as much as we say it's all about the children, you have got to look after yourself too.
Yeah.
And, you know, happy parent, happy children, right? So if you're making sure you're looking after yourself and doing nice things for yourself and as well, then you're in a better position to get through the Christmas period in the best way.
And if they are going to be, if they're going to have fear of being alone, if they're not having the children at all that first Christmas or even birthday, right, or other special events, what else can they be doing for them that is, quite often it's actually seen rather a lot of people that actually starting to go on kind of like solo holidays and things like that. But the other thing is, I actually do this with quite a lot of clients as well, if they're going to be alone and if they don't have a vast network or family network or anything like that as well, what else could they be doing that would serve them positively? Things like volunteering, actually. Could they go and give back and do something, right? And create some events, some experiences, or even if it's actually that one client that just popped into my head immediately who was like, yeah, I'm going to miss my kids that day, but actually I've had a really manic year. It's going to be quite nice to just have 2 days even where I just get to switch off. And he started reframing for himself and going, it's not just Christmas Day, it's the 25th of December.
Yeah.
Because if I keep putting all this expectation of it's Christmas Day and it brings all the stuff that we've been talking
and it's
about.
a day, you move on. During COVID, I had...
tomorrow's the 26th and then the day after the 27th and it still keeps coming. So
yeah, during COVID, I had, I got COVID and I wasn't allowed to see the children at all. So I had like 10 days over the Christmas period. I didn't see it. It was horrific. And I literally was like crying on Christmas. But now I'm like, do you know what? Another Christmas comes around, it's okay. Like, and sometimes it is okay not to feel okay.
Yeah.
I think I've been so guilty of like trying to suppress my emotions all the time and being, oh, I'm fine. So sometimes if you need an afternoon just to feel sorry for yourself, like that's fine. The next day's a new day.
Yeah, I think sometimes as well, we always want what we don't have. So when we're at home and it's busy and the kids are there, it's like, I just want 5 minutes peace.
Yeah.
You know,
you'd love to send yours off, wouldn't you?
I
Christmas
do,
afternoon.
I do anything for sort of an afternoon to myself. But when we have it imposed on us to a certain extent on a day that we don't want it, suddenly we can't see that in a positive light. So you're so right about reframing that and taking it back as actually this could be a really great opportunity for you to kind of refill your cup and fill it with something that's really great and make new traditions.
That's the bit I was going to say with the opportunity, like what else could you do differently?
Yeah.
Still keep some of the older traditions that you maybe used to do, but actually what are some of the things that maybe you didn't like about old traditions? What are the things that maybe you never did, but now you can, now that you would like to?
Yeah.
And whether that's Christmas Eve boxes or it's Christmas Day on another completely different date. We did that years ago. I think it was after COVID. We did a kind of big one on August, I think it was. But yeah, what new traditions can you do? And also to get them involved as well. And to your point about it doesn't have to be something expensive. It can be things that are free, that are actually more about connection and being with each other as well.
Yeah.
I think that positive mindset, like I feel like now I alternate weekends. So I'm like, when I have my children, I feel like I really make the most of that time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So sometimes I know you haven't got all the time with them, but when you do, you feel like, actually, I really want to make this time, the best it can be. So over the Christmas period, like, you know, if I have my children till 2:00, for example, I'm like, right, my full focus is on them.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have your children all the time, you quite easily be there watching TV, not really paying attention to them. So,
and then you know by 4:00 it's all right to open a bottle of wine.
Yeah, well, at 4:00, 12:00, right?
Right, sorry, 2:02. Like,
surely, like as the presents, presents have been
Christmas
opened
is
since
very
this morning.
But you're right though, and then you also kind of you get to look forward to missing them as well.
Yeah,
because then you know when they're actually coming back. And
that feeling when they come in and you're like, oh, it's so nice to see them, and an hour later you're like, no, really.
When are you going to?
I mean, I'm hearing a lot of sort of reframe. I'm hearing a lot of kind of like being organised and really thinking about Christmas. I'd probably add to some of this conversation just about when you're having these conversations as well, because we're at the end of November. And the challenge for me as a family lawyer is when I get clients come and visit me at the end of November or the beginning of December. And by that point, they've still not agreed what's going to happen for Christmas this year. And that's incredibly challenging because it's too late for us to be making court applications, etc. at that point. These conversations need to be had much, much earlier in the year so that we've got time to sort of go through processes if need be, if an agreement can't be reached. But there's also loads of things out there that can help people with that. So mediation is a great service to be able to, talk about something like Christmas child arrangements, because it's all about you and your ex-partner sitting down together. and being able to have that conversation. And we also have what we call child inclusive mediation these days as well, where the child can be involved in that mediation process as well. So, you know, what you were saying earlier, Tom, about, you know, having a chat to them and seeing, and Jodie, about, you know, what is it that they find important about Christmas? Those types of things can be pulled into that conversation. So obviously, depending on their age, you know, we're not going to have a child inclusive mediation with a 2.5-year-old, but certainly if we've got children that are 8, 9, 10, then it's great to be able to feed that in. And it's not about them choosing who they're going to spend Christmas with, because that's the worst, the worst thing in the world, for that pressure to be put on the child's shoulders. But yeah, about them feeling that they've been heard and that they get a say in how their Christmas is as well, because it's a magical time of year, and you know, they have lots of ideas usually about how they want to be spending the day.
Question for you, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Because I use solicitors finance, but not for like childcare arrangements. And for me, this is probably wrong, and you're probably going to tell me off.
We would never dare.
What have I done?
I've always done the like majority of the childcare over the last like 8 years. Their dad has them every other weekend. So I always feel like over Christmas, I should get a say more. Cause I feel like actually, you know, why should I give up that waking up with them when I do everything all year round? Is that something that's considered, or is that kind of like, nope, it should just be 50-50?
It's really common.
Okay.
I would
common
absolutely
feeling,
say that it's a very, very common feeling, particularly for parents who do feel they take the bulk of the burden throughout the year. And particularly when they say, well, actually, you know, I'm the one that has to do all the school drop-offs. I'm the one that has to do all the school pickups. I'm the one that has to do all the homework in the evening, and they already get all the fun time. So why should they get Christmas Day as well? You know, and I think it's recognizing that that's an okay feeling to have. Legally, it's not something that the courts will necessarily take in. No, legally
we're fine now, but it's always something that I always felt a bit like, actually, it's unfair.
Yeah, it's not something the courts will take into account, because they're looking at the children. So they're not looking at what mum, dad wants or what's in their best interest. They're looking at what's in the child's best interest. It's the child's best interest to have a really great relationship with both of their parents, if that's safe to do so, and ensuring that, you know, this is a really special time of year, and therefore, understandably, that it should be shared between both parents as much as possible. There's so many ways of doing that, though. We can alternate the whole Christmas periods. We can do the switch on Christmas Day that you were talking about earlier. And equally, I have lots of clients that will come to me, and actually Christmas Day is not their family day. Like Boxing Day can be a big day in a lot of households, whereby they say, actually, quite happy for them to have the Christmas Day and the Christmas Eve. As long as I get Boxing Day, I want Boxing Day every year, because that's the day that we have our big family party.
It's funny, I actually had a client like that a couple of years ago, where they came with a big angst about Christmas and all the things we're talking about. And then once we actually worked it through practically in real life terms and looked back at kind of how previous Christmases have operated, the other parent was Eastern European Catholic, and they primarily celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve. And my client's family tradition was their Christmas was actually a big thing on Boxing Day. Christmas Day had always been a non-entity. It was actually just a lazy day at home. So it's like, so what are we getting?
Why are we arguing about it?
But it was about the principal piece of it all. And again, it's just trying to shift that perspective from, but actually nothing has drastically changed. You actually have already got a perfect format that the other 99% of separating divorcing parents would love to have, to go, you always have Christmas Eve, or I always have Boxing Day, and then it worked like that.
My clients who have had like childcare arrangements put in place, might be hard the first one, but once it's in place, you're like, that's it. So I feel like it's such a benefit to have that actually thrashed out, because for me, actually, every time Christmas comes around, I get like you say, I get that funny feeling like, oh, what's going to happen this year? So actually coming to an agreement, even if it's not what you want, I feel is probably best for your own mindset, isn't it?
Something that's gratified that you can then at least get your head around.
Yeah, and you know what's happening. You don't need to ask one less thing to argue about. And we all want that, right? We don't want to be arguing all the time.
It removes all the kind of ambiguity and the fears, and at least it's got you some kind of core data for you to be able to kind of get your head around, and also process emotively as well. Like you say, still not be happy about it, still feel sad about it, be like, okay, that's not
the reality.
What
this
I
is
want,
my new
but...
this is my new this is my new
what am I going to do? What are my new traditions?
What are my traditions?
What am I going to do to put myself first this year, because I've got a period of time over the Christmas period this year where I don't have the children.
What's the cheapest return flight?
Where am I going? Wouldn't that be
have them
lovely?
Christmas, it's fine.
But it's that planning as well, isn't it? I think it's the pressure over Christmas is that run up, isn't it? It's the Christmas films where it's this perfect family spending Christmas together. It's the adverts that we get, you know, we talk about, you have the John Lewis, all the big companies are fighting for different advert space each year. and they create this perfect picture. And this creates such a pressure for people that they almost put themselves in this pressure pot that they then don't know how to get out of. Loneliness around Christmas is always a big topic. You know, we've talked about the pressure pot. The reality is that there will be people that will feel lonely at Christmas, whether it's because they haven't got the children or whether it's because actually now they're on their own because they don't have the family. Perhaps they went to their ex-partner's family every year or they had the ex-partner's family over. How can someone deal with that loneliness without just kind of, talked about kind of keeping busy? But sometimes loneliness can go a bit further than that, can't it? It can tip into sort of medical depression, etc. You know, how can we manage those feelings?
I think what I always do with people is quantify, like, is it loneliness or is it aloneness?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can be in a crowded room and feel lonely.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I say to people is, like, give yourself a little bit of a get out of jail free card. It's okay to give yourself the permission to say, actually, I'm struggling with this environment, even if I'm in a room with like all of my friends and family. And that also brings a lot of, again, in the early kind of first Christmases, even a lot of, again, internalized pressure and expectation. What's everybody else thinking? I haven't seen Auntie Julie since March. What do they think about this? Do they think I'm a bad parent or whatever it might be? So it's okay to give yourself permission to be like, do you know what? Actually, I want to step away from this, or I need to go and take a minute or some time. I think it's with loneliness is the kind of grief process as well, and just allowing yourself to recognize that, you know what, even if it's like set yourself up to say, look, I'm going to have, or even designate some time on that day to feel sad, to sit with it, to be with it for a minute, to acknowledge it, to let it come out a bit, and then I can go and put myself in the other situations that they've maybe elected to do or whatever it is that they're up to. I hope that kind of answered your question.
You definitely.
I was going to say
I
as
was
well.
about to go about 15 different directions, and I was like, Tom, be quiet, let Jodie speak.
I have this last year, so
Okay.
and I will probably have it again this year. My boys went to their dad's at like 1 o'clock, and then obviously I was on my own. And my plan was going to be to spend the afternoon with my parents, me and them. And I was like, how depressing. I'm 37 and I'm sat in front of the TV with my mum and my stepdad. But for me, I think what's really important is reached out to one of my best friends and I was like, oh, I feel so down about Christmas. Because, you know, I knew I was going to look on Instagram, see people out, you know, having fun, and I'll be sat there between my parents. I wouldn't sit there between them really. But I reached out to a friend and was like, this is, you know, I'm feeling really rubbish about Christmas this year. And then ended up going around hers, and she had a few strays from the golf club, divorced people. I actually had a really good afternoon.
There are support groups around and things like that, and actual like different divorce groups as well around kind of pivotal times of year
tell
and
people,
stuff like that.
You know, you don't just keep it in.
Yeah,
and I think
have
actually
people to go
rather than,
to.
and I said to my parents, I'm sorry, but like actually I'm not going to spend the afternoon with you, and they were fine with it. But yeah, I think forward plan, and also don't be afraid to tell people you're feeling a certain way.
It's more challenging at Christmas, isn't it? I think because we assume like all our friends are busy, all our friends are with their, like we don't want to be a burden on them. Whereas at other times of the year, perhaps we wouldn't think twice about picking up the phone.
Exactly.
But it just feels like there's an extra hurdle to get over. But as you said, people will invite you round.
You almost feel like
your
friends won't want to spend it because you're like, oh, it's family time.
Yeah.
But actually, I think
a
it's really fun. Who doesn't want to get drunk with their friends on Christmas afternoon?
And the thing you said about social media as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you can, it's kind of self-boundary, right? Have a 24-hour social media break. Like, come off of it. And as we all know, like the things that you see on the front isn't what's going on the back end.
It's a highlight reel.
Exactly, right. My other half says this and reminds, I can't remember who it was, where the picture was taken, but we're talking to my bonus daughter, it's her daughter, about a particular event years and years and years ago. And she's like, do you remember when Tom put that post up and blah, blah, blah? And we're all smiling, we're all happy. She's like, yeah. She's like, oh, I know what it was. We went up Ben Nevis. Right.
Oh, nice. Not on Christmas.
Well, exactly. Not at Christmas. No.
Christmas Day.
But the point
us all
was
to
about
shame.
like the post on social media, and she's like, do you remember that day? You know, and she's like, yeah. She's like, and the picture of us all at the top smiling and everybody happy. She's like, yeah. She's like, do you remember that day? She's like, yeah. All of you were miserable. All of you were tired. It took hours. We were knackered.
So
everyone's like, when can we go home? Like, so what you actually saw on the front end was not what's happening in the back end. So give yourself a break. Come off of it.
Yeah.
It's so true. And with Christmas pictures, some of the worst for that, as far as Christmas pictures are concerned, are the pictures of presents that people will put, that, you know, a picture of their Christmas tree with this mound of presents that are underneath it. And if you're struggling financially coming up to Christmas because you're going through a divorce, money's tighter, you're now paying for 2 households at the moment whilst you're sorting out your finances, the idea that, you know, somebody else is able to afford all of these presents for their children and you might only be able to afford one for yours can be really challenging. Budgeting. I think that brings us on to budgeting.
Yeah, I know. I was already in my head. I was like, oh.
Thinking about in those situations. So somebody that's coming up to Christmas, perhaps now, what kind of practical things can they be putting into place to stop it escalating?
Yeah, I'd say Secret Santas in your family. We do that. You know, even people who earn good money, like Christmas is so expensive. So if you put a budget on your family group, friendship group, you know, one nice present rather than having to spend £30 on 10 people. So that's, yeah, a real good one. I'd say buy secondhand. When my boys were younger, I'd look on the marketplace and buy, you know, toys secondhand. They get the same enjoyment out of them. They don't care that they're not coming in a, you know, new shiny box. And then also forward thinking, putting a little bit away every month for the following Christmas. Like £30 a month gives you £360, you know, there ready for Christmas. And it doesn't feel that strenuous. So I'd say, yeah, save gradually for it. Secondhand gifts, fine. Secret Santas. And also, I think food, like pre-planning meals.
Yeah.
Because it's really strange, isn't it? You know, like the Christmas shop you do. You go to the shop
like
and you spend like
hundreds.
£300 on this one day. And you think you've got to remember, but like, it's just a roast dinner, right?
Yeah.
And even like the meals around Christmas Day, like, you know, Boxing Day, you don't have to go and get a takeaway. You know, you can easily, you know, buy a frozen pizza, put in the oven if your kids like pizza.
Yeah.
So it's actually pre-planning your meals and these things that end up being really expensive.
Boxing Day is the best meal over Christmas.
I love Boxing
in
Day.
my
Mashed
in my
potato,
humble
cold
opinion.
meats, pickled
cold
onions.
meats, jacket potatoes, pickled onions, all the chutneys. Much better than
I
the roast
actually
dinner.
really like Boxing Day. I feel like there's just less pressure, isn't there? Everyone just has a good time. It's done and it's lovely.
Yeah.
You're saying about Secret Santa, we did that. We still do it. And what we actually do is, again, all four parents, all four kids go, and each year the kids pick a different parent to go with and go off and help when they kind of go and get the presents. So actually they're all kind of involved, and you've also got this little secret between you about, you know, who bought for the other one.
That's nice. So the kids involved as well.
But I mean, like, that's what I mean, like, adapt your own unique ways of doing it.
And it's exciting to suddenly, you know, especially if you've been in an unhappy relationship, you probably Christmas is the time I know I had the biggest arguments. So actually it's your time to start
or the most
fresh, isn't
despondent,
it?
didn't want to go to such and such's house. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. On the presents, so what you were saying there, that they do kind of a Secret Santa, what's your advice to people about whether they should be buying a gift for their ex-partner?
I always actually say do it. Yep. Same as you would for their birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day. What are some of the things in life that we want for our kids, right? And how we want them to be as humans. We want them to be kind, compassionate, right? With two boys, like the fight, I'm sure they do.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? Like, what do we say? Like, shake hands, make up.
Yeah.
But how are we showing that in our, what I was saying earlier about like action, living behaviour, like that they get to witness? So actually by doing that and saying, right, again, setting a budget, it doesn't have to be expensive, but it's more actually the action of doing something and doing it with them and saying, right, so take your kids shopping, give them a budget, right, go with the boys and like set them a budget of whatever it might be, 10, 20, 30 pounds, and be like, right, getting a present for dad and writing in the card and everything. Again, doesn't mean that the other person's going to do it. You can't control that. It's about what you can control, and actually it's about you feeling good about what you do.
I've always taken mine to like Asda. Like, there's £20. Like, go buy some. And he ends up with like protein bars.
I'll be in the
car. Deodorant. But you know, they're excited about it. They like wrapping them up. They love giving them. And if I receive presents from my children, you know, through the ex, I'm like, actually, it's just about them. It's not about disliking what they've bought. It's the fact that they're getting that enjoyment.
Yeah.
So I think, but also you can encourage them to get some weird presents in there as well. I'm joking.
And then the reality is, after several years later, and particularly as if we get older into teenagers, like they're now saying to I'm saying to them, like, so you're going to get mum something for your birthday? And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't know. And so now I'm motivating them to do it. And they're like, oh, have you got any ideas, Dad? And now I've got to give them the ideas for what I've got to get for their mum.
But also the thoughtful presents. Like, one of my friends asked me the other day, like, oh, what should I get? It's my, you know, ex's big birthday coming up. And I was actually, what I've done before is buy like photos of the children. So I'm like, that's really nice. It's low cost, you know, some nice framed photos. Yeah, so I think that's quite a nice idea.
So we're probably coming to the end of our time, but I think it would be really helpful, given everything that we've discussed, and there's loads of real value in kind of the advice that you've given to people today, is thinking about if somebody's coming up to their very first Christmas post-separation, what's the one thing that each of you would want them to take away from this?
So if we're thinking financially, I'd say it's about your presents, not the presents. You know, children won't remember what you're gifting them. Don't put pressure on yourself to spend lots of money. It's about the fun things you do as a family.
I think from my side, more on the emotive side of things, is actually recognise it's going to be hard. It is just one day. There will be other days that follow, and there's also going to be future Christmases, and you get to decide what those future Christmases look like.
Brilliant. And I would probably just add into that, just have those conversations early. Do not leave it till December to be having conversations about Christmas. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us today. It is absolutely lovely to have you both back on the podcast, new and shiny. That's it for today. Thank you so much to everybody for listening to our podcast, and we wish you a very happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.